It's a Friday, the 15th of March, 2024, and this is Spectrum Extra, review of the major events of the week. Today, we'll be looking at the latest developments on the alleged expenditure scandal in Parliament. Well, this week we saw pressure shifting to the leadership of Parliament as campaigners on social media and other actors pushed for accountability. And we also saw the leader of opposition in Parliament, Joel Senyonyi, holding that press briefing and demanding for answers from the Speaker over the same issues. He actually urged her to convene the Parliamentary Commission. We also saw political parties, civil society people actually audit into handling of the finances within Parliament. Today there was a sitting at Parliament, and outside there was a heavy deployment of security personnel because apparently there were people who were planning to actually cause confusion at Parliament. So the matter was raised by the leader of opposition, Joel Senyonyi, who actually urged the Speaker to explain what was going on in relation to what has actually been placed on the media platform. Well, the Speaker, backed by other members in the House, especially Jessica Ababiku and Kampala Central MP Muhammad Nsereko, insisted that they could not debate matters that had actually been reflected in the media. Apparently, the rules of Parliament does not allow that. And she said also there will be a parliamentary commission sitting to discuss these issues. But later on, we learned from the law that actually the only possibility for this parliamentary commission to sit is after June the 30th. It took the intervention of Lwemiaga County MP Theodore SEKIKUBO to actually move the Speaker to say something about what to explain something about this so-called scandal that has been placed on different platforms of the media. We'll be looking at that issue in deep detail. We'll also be looking at the road to 2026 general elections inside political parties. Different things are happening. The NRM commenced registration of its members. They are saying at the moment they have about 11.8 million supporters, and they are now validating them. They want to use electronic register. We have always seen problems in the primaries wherever issues arise. At one point, the NRM members are told to use the yellow book. Others, at one point, we had there was another register which was held by one individual in the party. And so we'll be looking deep into this matter. But also on the side of the opposition, where we continue to see conflicts brewing. Almost all opposition political parties now have factions. And some people are actually saying that the National Unity Platform will not survive that trend. We already got wind of information today that the party has decided to remove Matthias Impuga from the position of Commissioner of Parliament. And this is something that is likely to bring more challenges within the party because of what the other leaders are actually saying. We'll be looking at that issue also in detail. And we know the faction of the FDC at Katonga has been consulting with a view of actually coming up with a new political vehicle. Will they be forming a political party? What do all these dynamics in the different political parties mean? I have a panel of four. The Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO, Lwemiaga County MP, member of the NRM party. In the past, at the time I used to cover Parliament, Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO belonged to a group that was codenamed the Rebel MPs. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us, Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO, on this edition of Spectrum Extra.
Thank you, Ken, and good evening, dear listeners.
Honorable SEKIKUBO, you've been somehow silent.
Did the rebels give up arms?
People have been wondering whether you actually captured power or you decided to. Also in studio, the Honorable Simon Mulongo, governance and security expert who did represent Bubulo East in Parliament. He served as deputy head of the African Union mission in Somalia, quite some time away from this particular platform. It's always a pleasure to have you, Honorable Simon Mulongo.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be back home and to this very platform from where I went, and I'm now back to it.
Do you still think about the people of Bubulo East?
Of course I do, and they think a lot about me, and I've been knocking at the door.
Hey.
And they promised me they're going to open all the doors and the rooms to me.
Hey.
Yes.
So we are likely to see you in 2026
Inshallah.
on the campaign trail.
Inshallah.
Also in studio, Mr. Julius Mukunda, Executive Director at the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, members of the Joint Budget Transparency Initiative, good evening, and thank you very much for being with us this evening, Mr. Mukunda.
Good evening, Kenneth. I don't know what, I think politics is like...
Do you have any aspirations, 2026?
No, me not, but I think
you know, when you hang around politicians...
No, people who go to politics, they never want to leave it.
No, you cannot be sick until you are infected. So he's not infected.
He's not yet infected. Also in studio, Mr. George Musisi, a lawyer and a member of the National Unity Platform Party, Pandit on Governance and Human Rights Matters. Mr. Musisi, thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening to our listeners. Pleasure to be here with these eminent gentlemen.
Do you have some political fever?
I have all the qualifications to stand for any office in this country. Yes.
And he's a very active politician.
Well, and I think that says it all. It's only me here on this table who has not yet got the political fever.
Because you have your constituency.
And I'll continue doing so.
I dispute that.
Right, you dispute that?
Yes.
I will ask you to bring, what did the speaker call it?
Well, we don't rely
the
on
evidence.
Media,
Yes.
gossip.
Not rumors. Gossip.
Not rumors or gossip. Anyway, let's set the stage of this discussion by listening to a clip where the Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO actually moved the speaker to say something, and we learned from the speaker that she's not going to be ready to explain herself because of certain things that she thinks could be behind this campaign. Let's take a listen.
Speaker, you say we debate other things, we lay the papers, when the credibility of this house is under challenge. We cannot sit here as if nothing wrong has happened. I was amazed that in your communication you did not make a mention of the grave allegations against the institution of parliament where I belong as a member. And once this house is tarnished the way it is, I can't sit comfortably there, and we say we move on to other items. Can we have a clarification about the allegations in the media so that we take a corrective position, so that we clean ourselves first? We are taking oversight role on other institutions and arms of government, but when it comes to us, we want to hide it under carpet, and it is a shame to this house if we proceed when such allegations are on our head, and we continue as if it is business as usual. If you had issued a statement at that point, we would say yes, but to proceed as if nothing has happened. Once this house is on fire, I cannot sit down there. We need answers. What happened?
Honorable members.
What happened?
Sit and I give you an
What
answer.
happened?
Sit, I give you an answer. Honorable members, I will never give you an answer on hearsay, on rumor mongering. And we are not going to run this house on rumor mongering. Need to answer you on hearsay, on things that you have cooked on the social media, because I have said no to bum shafting. I will not. Next item.
Well, an extract of the proceedings in the House today as the Speaker finally made her position known on the ongoing exhibition on social media. And the people behind the exhibition have vowed to provide us more information as the days go by. I'll begin with you, Mr. George Musisi. Your party, through the leader of opposition, has been pushing for answers in the House. There you have it.
Well, we start from the point that we have a problem of accountability in this country, where public servants don't imagine that they're sitting in those offices to account to the general public. Any person who earns coffers from the consolidated fund needs to account to the public. That's why there are some laws, the Anti-Corruption Act, one of them, which says that if you even try to show a lifestyle which is much richer than your known earnings, a burden shifts to you to explain. In this case, we have what the Speaker calls allegations. Actually, there have been what has been alleged, that one, people are taking trips which possibly overlap. People are taking monies which for activities are not known. Those are serious allegations of monies. People are sitting to share money, it's a booty. And like Honorable SEKIKUBO said in that clip, he says that the integrity of the House is in question. Every member of the House would be concerned that if these are allegations, let the people be, because there are laws in this country. The Speaker is a lawyer. There are laws in this country of a person who is seeking to defame you. If there are allegations and there are rumors and they are cooked, to use her words, the law should have taken its course on the people who are cooking these things, because it's damaging the credibility of the House. it's shocking that those so-called allegations can just be pushed below the carpet. Secondly, this is the first time the Speaker is the first person to dispute those things. We have had the Director of Communications for over 2 weeks now trying to justify the said expenditures, the said leakages, which you've seen on social media. He's been trying to justify them. So they're not cooked, like the Speaker wants to say, because her own staff, through the Director of Communications, has actually owned up to many of them. The first one which triggered the world was the Speaker's leave of 60 days and the husband. It was owned, I'm one of those who thought that it was cooked until it was owned up by no less than the Director of Communications. So these are not cooked. The other issue is, does the public, does the Parliament know, starting from the Speaker, that they owe a duty to account the public? Secondly, the other bigger issue, who does Parliament report to? I don't think that our laws envisage to create Parliament, its independence, to mean that it doesn't report to anyone. You find that the institutional measures that are in place, like Auditor General, ultimately reports to Parliament. When Parliament, Auditor General makes these reports, like we saw in the Civil Aviation Report and Uganda Airlines Report, just by mere ruling, the Speaker ruled the report not to be discussed because it had leaked. Of course, not basing on any law. The rules of Parliament say that when a Speaker makes a ruling, she should cite a law where she's basing it. But that means there's a discretion. The Speaker has a discretion to decide which report, even if Auditor General is to make those reports. Look at IGG, who can, like she even said last week that she has started an investigation into these social media things. She reports to Parliament. We've ever had a clash between Justice Muliagonja, was IGG then, and the Speaker then, where the Speaker had to remind her that, you are our officer, you report to us. So who do you report to? That's a bigger question, that our laws didn't envisage to create an autonomous unit which doesn't report to anyone, like that by the line of the Speaker saying that I cannot rely on social media rumors. Even if these things were wrong, the Speaker owes the public a duty, Parliament owes public a duty to explain and to see that the people who cook those things are held to account. Because as it is now, it's defaming, it's tarnishing the image of the entire House. In fact, the integrity of each and every member, including those who didn't partake of that booty sharing, are certainly to blame. So we cannot go on deflecting blame, like the Speaker seems to say that, these are homosexuals trying to fight me. This is public money. This is taxpayers' money, which Ugandans think is being and the Speaker owes the public a duty.
Well, one fundamental issue that actually moved her to actually come to that ruling was the fact that some MPs stood up and said they cannot be influenced to discuss matters that are simply appearing in the media.
This is a continuation of what we've seen in Parliament, especially in the last 2.5 years, where there is some bit of choreographed semblance of a debate. Someone stands, it's all choreographed. Because it's not the first time that Parliament has discussed things that have happened in the media. Secondly, Parliament in this case is in issue. It's the main point of concern. Doesn't Parliament think that it owes Ugandans a duty to, if these things are wrong, to explain to Ugandans that they are wrong? In fact, the adjourning of Parliament Sunday is suspect that it was meant to kill this debate. Today it was called for purposes of passing the ministerial statements because there was a deadline, and of course they went back into the leave such as the debate can die down. So Parliament owes Ugandans a duty, even if in whatever way it's done, even if you find the Speaker of Parliament at a function and that is what accountability is. So to hide behind the guise of the rules so that we cannot discuss. We've had several discussions on the floor of Parliament from things which even emanate from such from much lesser sources.
All right. Let's hear from Honorable SEKIKUBO. You were in that house pushing for answers together with your colleagues. Actually, you began yesterday with a press conference insisting that these issues needed to be addressed. Finally, you got an answer you were looking for. Actually, you're the one who prompted the Speaker to make this statement. Are you satisfied?
You see, Ken, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity and colleagues on this panel. Now, when we talk about the issues being raised, for the last fortnight or so, the media houses had hitting revenues. Now, whether one calls them allegations, mere fabrications, etc. is another matter. First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity and colleagues on this panel. Now, when we talk about the issues being raised, for the last fortnight or so, the media houses had hitting revenues. Now, whether one calls them allegations, mere fabrications, etc., is another matter. Against the so-called allegation on social media. I think recently, court allowed that one can be served by way of WhatsApp.
Even a
contracts can be incorporated on WhatsApp. So it means we are moving. You can't hide anymore. And the first person to be updated about that would be the speaker. But why hasn't she contested those revelations, the exhibition? Look, as Parliament, we are being indicted. I don't know how you see it, but and we are literally indicted. So business can't continue as usual. We feel we need to first clarify and to come to grips with what is happening. Because Parliament wields immense powers on demanding and enforcing accountability from the two arms of government, the executive and the judiciary. How does it come that when it is now the turn of Parliament to be scrutinized, then we say we can talk about these things? Number two, I think the framers of the 1995 Constitution, and I hope Honorable did participate in the same. The framers had in mind the sense of autonomy so that Parliament is never compromised. But it wasn't to give Parliament latitude to abuse this trust and this power given to it. Because the issue was, if you make Parliament to be influenced and determined by the executive or any other arm, then you'll be putting it, you'll be compromising the leeway where Parliament should act in and perform its oversight function. Saying, now look, you, and once you hear such noises, you must wake up. And I'm saying the framers were not say they didn't give just appropriate all those powers to Parliament, but they had a good purpose. And a good purpose in the current circumstances, where if you put Parliament amenable to all these other manipulations, you may not go far. And it is the last bastion, in a sense that this is the refuge of the public. The Parliament is the last resort of Ugandans. But now once you pull it down under the gutters, you must think twice. And it was a humble and honest call that we resolve these matters. We look at it. And in fact, if the Speaker was to be proactive, to inform Parliament, what measures have you taken? First of all, to curtail, if anything to that magnitude is happening. Number two, have we laid ourselves open to the Auditor General for a forensic audit? And as you know, the Auditor General is an office of Parliament. But once it comes to us and we have heard, let the Attorney General conduct.
The Auditor General?
Yes, conduct a forensic audit so that he can give us a clean bill of health. Number three, we are reading in the media, the IGG has picked interest in the same. And yet, what has Parliament done to itself? Look, we have the oversight committees of Parliament. You remember, Honorable, after the Chogam of 2007, we had another almost bigger scandal in this country. And all the big persons refused to appear before the Public Accounts Committee. But the President said, now, since my name has been cited, let me appear. Members of Parliament, here I am, I have nothing to hide. And I think afterwards, that's when the then Vice President, Dr. Gilbert Bukenya, the then Minister of Defense, Honorable Amama Mbabazi, Minister of Works, Honorable John Nasasira, Honorable Sam Kutesa, and others came and appeared before the committee. And some were found culpable, and others were saying no. So this is not the first. And you see, human nature. Human nature, Plato and Aristotle wrote in political science, human nature is full of appetite. Given the opportunity, human nature is full of appetite. And it is only the systems, the institutions, the laws that can safeguard and can curtail that appetite of man. And therefore, to me, if we don't check ourselves, we are headed for disaster.
All right, you talk about the autonomy of Parliament, and this is an issue that has been given as an explanation, that Parliament can decide how it spends money, and therefore, as long as the Commission sits down and makes a decision, it's for the well-being of the House and the members therein. Well, what would you say to people actually saying that probably we need to go the UK way? There was a time when the UK had a problem. There was a scandal, almost a similar scandal in the UK, and they chose to set up an entity that now determines how MPs should be remunerated.
Yes, an independent remuneration board. Probably, or maybe not. But even if it was, let's look at it. Let's be open-minded. Let's look at it. But you see, Parliament is self-accounting, and it charges directly the consolidated account. You see where it is? Parliament's budget is just laid, and it is drawn from the consolidated account. But you don't abuse that. Number two, it's not true to say that they have the leeway. The Commission has the leeway. The Commission is part of Parliament. And it depends on the amounts we vote. You know? And therefore, now you are going into the accounting processes. Even if you say, yes, we voted this amount, and therefore, we used part of this amount to cover up something else, there you're going into mischarge. And mischarge can only be permitted on very small lines. Mischarge of 10%. You can't exceed 10%. And you can even then mischarge on almost related items. You can't mischarge on the opposites. You can mischarge, say, if it is for utilities, water, and electricity. There you can. But you can't get from capital development and you go to travel abroad. You can't get from committee facilitation and you put it to personal use as it is indicating. So to me, the big issue we have on our hands is how to tame this lion that seemed to have gone amok.
Is it a lion or lioness?
I don't know the lion of Parliament. Leave alone individuals. For me, I've been careful not to debate individuals. He's a small person, not a lioness. Right. But I mean this institution called Parliament.
All right.
Let's look at it from that broader perspective.
SpectrumExtra, Radio 1 FM 90. Let's go for a break now. When we return, we'll hear from Honorable Simon Mulongo and also Mr. Julius Mukunda as we continue reflecting on the latest developments as far as this so-called alleged expenditure scandal at Parliament is concerned. Now, stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90. Keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090.
Spectrum Extra, Fridays 7 to 9 p.m. on Radio 1 FM 90.
Is here. A time to connect with Allah and find spiritual wholeness. The Sheraton Kampala Hotel has prepared a daily iftar buffet dinner with Middle Eastern and local dishes at the Al-Haim tent, specially prepared for the Muslim community, starting at 7 p.m. with a 50% discount for children between ages 4 and 12. Sheraton Kampala also has special room rates for individuals and families with Subhir inclusive. The Sheraton Kampala Hotel, keeping the community at heart. For more details and reservations, visit Sheraton Kampala social media platforms or call 0741 001 109. Ramadan Kareem.
Terms of business with Housing Finance Bank and meet your business needs with ease. Get unsecured bid bonds of up to 500 million shillings within 24 hours. That's not all. Housing Finance Bank is also offering other short-term facilities, including performance guarantees, advance payment guarantees, contract financing, export and import financing, invoice discounting, and so much more. Contact our trade finance team today on 0417-707-595. You can also call our contact center on 0800-211-082 or WhatsApp 0771-888-755 or visit any of our Housing Finance Bank branch nearest access to you. Housing Finance Bank, we make it easy. Housing Finance Bank is regulated by Bank of Uganda, and customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Terms and conditions apply.
Spectrum Extra, Fridays 7 to 9 p.m. on Radio 1 FM 90.
Thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum Extra, live on Radio 1 FM 90. My name is Kenneth Lukagandason, your host. We're reviewing the major events of the week. Our focus right now is on the latest developments over the alleged expenditure scandal in Parliament, where social media has been awash with reports that a lot of funds have been mishandled in that house. People receiving money on their private accounts, money going to the speaker's account for per diem, and all other forms of expenses, including allowances. And the matter came to the House today, and she said she cannot engage in discussing an issue that apparently has been cooked up by those fighting her for apparently taking a tough stance and passing the anti-homosexuality law. The panel today, Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO, Remiaga County MP, is one of those people who pushed for an answer from the House. We also have in studio Mr. George Musisi, lawyer and member of the National Unity Platform. The people have been pushing also for the answers through the leader of opposition in Parliament. We have Mr. Julius Mukunda, Executive Director at the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, and the Honorable Simon Mlongo, Governance and Security Expert, who still has his eyes on Bubulo East parliamentary seat. We know he also served as Deputy Head of the African Union Mission in Somalia. In fact, let me bring him on the microphone. Honorable Simon Mlongo, you were in that house before, and that time we didn't hear even a single noise about alleged misuse of public funds. We now have a situation where things have been put on social media. We have a speaker taking a stand, and the MPs, her honorable members, seem not to agree with her. For instance, the Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO, who is here. What's your reading of this situation, Honorable Simon Mlongo?
Thank you so much. You rightly said that by the time I was in the Parliament, we didn't have certain scandals. Maybe it was by chance or by design. The fact is that as a constitutional maker, we envisaged Parliament to be self-accounting, self-discipline, and to the extent that the members are referred to as honorable members who are supposed to conduct themselves in an honorable way. The laws of this country provide for any crime that can be brought before courts of judicature and other accountability bodies. In other words, you cannot be charged for a crime that is not defined by the law. And that includes issues of excesses by those given powers to run the offices that they do run. It doesn't matter whether it's the executive, whether it's the judiciary or legislature. And to this extent, Parliament as an institution, they have structures and systems that are supposed to be interlocked and self-checking in a manner that if there is an abuse of the process or actions, then anyone, it doesn't matter whether it's the Right Honourable Speaker or the Commission or members of Parliament, they're supposed to be brought to account. And as such, to me, the issues of alleged excesses by the Speaker can actually be brought to light, and the Speaker and the Commission can be challenged very effectively. It is true that some officers that are supposed to audit are officers of Parliament, but those officers, we made sure in the law that they are given as much autonomy as possible. Actually, the IGG, the Auditor General, and so on, the Human Rights Commission, they are supposed to operate independently. And in fact, if anybody tries to twist them or something, influence them, they have the right to cause action against such a person or authority. And as such, there is no doubt that, and I have a lot of faith in the Auditor General's office, that they will actually carry out, if told or petitioned, forensic audit in the areas of complaint. And once the report comes out, it doesn't matter who it is. They will name the D to be D and not L. So to me, I think it is an issue of invoking the procedures that are available for this matter to be investigated very deeply and to see whether there was abuse of funds, whether there was acting in excess of the powers given to those institutions, the institution of the Speaker and that of the Commission of Parliament, and also to see whether the monies were drawn. Because you see, money to be drawn in this case, there are many parties involved. Parliament does not work alone. Even if it is the Speaker, even if it's the Commission itself, it must work in conjunction with the Minister of Finance. It must work in conjunction with the Central Bank. It must work in conjunction with certain powers that are responsible for the funds flow related to Parliament. So we have to check who occasioned what, who failed where in the course of the whole cycle. And for that matter, to me, without any much ado, the issue of the suspected over expenditure or abuse of funds of Parliament can be investigated. The other one is political offices. In terms of offices, first of all, the House is set up in such a way that it can check against itself. There are oversight committees of the House that are supposed to do their work, whether in terms of misconducts. We have the rules, privileges that relate to the members of Parliament. And the Speaker and the Commission members are officers of Parliament. And they can be subject to that investigative procedure. And in that case, this committee can do its work. We also have organs of the executive that can come in politically to weigh in. And I think that it is very important, since this is the ruling party officials, a number of them, it's I think upon the NRM to really come in and say something, to say what action they have taken or intend to take in the circumstances. Because
we have already seen some action. There's a young man who has been RDC of Lubaga, who has been active on social media supporting this campaign of exposing what has been going on allegedly at Parliament. We are told he has been sacked, suspended.
Well, that's not in the spirit I'm saying. Definitely as a ruling party, we can't afford to just keep silent. Some official position has to come out to say, we have noted this, we're doing this, or we have done this. The issue of sacking an individual because has reacted is not a solution. The solution should be, does this really come out? How do we silence this? How do we assure the public about this? Because if we keep silent and then it goes on, then it will go on record that we either ignored or did not bother, and therefore it become a liability to us. So for that matter, I think politically we have to do that. The other one is really, I think, the Honorable Theodore and others who raised this matter. It was to say, let Parliament make a specific note for purpose of the public and other institutions to know that recognize the issue that have been raised. And to me, if the Speaker was raising a challenging issue, well, that was her reaction. But to me, the Speaker should have either said, okay, can we investigate this matter, or we shall cause to be investigated, or something like that. Because if the Speaker is innocent, and the likes of the Honorable Theodore are equally innocent, or are not agreeing with the Speaker, and the Speaker is also not agreeing with them, both of them cannot be right. One of them must be right. So for that matter, it requires a third-party authority to come in to say, hey, what is the problem? And then invoking the institutional and legal frameworks in this country to investigate this matter. What's very important is that our laws provide for checking excesses. It is not just Parliament observing the executive, but also Parliament within itself to check among itself. There is no we can allow actions that are in excess of the provisions. Abuse of office, abusing the funds, all those are totally unacceptable. And the framers of the Constitution, to which I was a party, framers of the laws, to which I have been a party, we do not allow that. So I think, to me, be other than just condemning and talking hot, it's very important to follow steps. What is the first step? So that we really go to the bottom of this matter.
All right. Mr. Mukunda, you are the budget person here, and apparently we've been hearing some of your colleagues out there, economists and budget experts, actually saying Parliament has been flouting the law. Do you agree with that assessment? And what would be your view on how this matter seems to be handled by the House? You heard from the Speaker, and you heard also from the member, Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO, and probably you've been talking to other members of Parliament at the same time.
Yes, thanks. Good evening, listeners. You see, there is one aspect in this debate that we are missing. And that aspect is the rules and regulations of the public finance management in this country. And who is the custodian, the gatekeeper of the public finance management in Parliament or in any ministry, department, or agency of government? That person is called an accounting officer. And the accounting officer is supposed to ensure that that public finance resources are
properly utilized.
And
accounted for.
And you put safeguards and you account for that particular money.
In this regard, in Parliament, who is the accounting officer?
The accounting officer of Parliament is the clerk.
The clerk to Parliament.
He's not even the Speaker. He's not even an MP.
That is the Honorable Adolf Misusing at the moment.
Okay. And Section 55 of the Public Finance Management Act puts properly the accounting officer and stipulates the functions of an accounting officer. And that one is the most important part of safeguarding public resources of government. The accountant general puts also guidelines on how you should spend money. And therefore, when you find the way Parliament is currently spending money, then you find that some of them are actually contrary to the rules and regulations. Because, for example, we are not allowed to put money, 500 million, on a personal account for you to spend it later. That one is not allowed. And now I'm interested to see what does because also there is the internal auditor of Parliament. What does the internal auditor of Parliament do if these things are taking place? So you want to understand that. In fact, let me tell you, Kenneth, I want to blame a member of Parliament who travels abroad, because when you travel abroad, you come to the clerk's office, say you have an invitation to travel to London, and when he says, "Oh, we have money to fund you," and you go, nobody should blame you. But if you come back 3-4 times and it is the accounting officer still approving that you should go, there must be something.
When a member comes and says they want to travel abroad,
yes,
shouldn't the clerk be asking what value that travel will add to Parliament?
Exactly. Now you are getting to the point that if the accounting officer finds that you are going to a trip that might not add value, or you have not even accounted for the previous trip, or you are going for 3 trips at the same time, he should have safeguards to say no. So if we have those things and Parliament and those rules are not being followed, then there is a problem with the accounting officer. And I think for me that's my biggest fear, that at the end of the day, these members of Parliament, 70% of them are not going to come back. You would agree with me. Next elections, 70% are not going to come back.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, they're not going to come back because, the turnover in Parliament has been so much.
Indeed,
but the books are going to stay there, and at the end of the day, when somebody comes to say, please, they want to look at the books of their account, they will bring you the accounting officer and the systems within Parliament. And therefore, that's where I'm worried. I ask myself, if this is happening in a Parliament like this, what about other government agencies? Is it the same? Could the problem be so big like this? And it vindicates my point, Kenneth, when I say that in this country we don't lack money. In this country, we don't have the capacity to prioritize. Because if we knew how to prioritize, I don't think we would be having 944 billion for the next financial Parliament to be spent on these kind of things. We would be able to prioritize and do some of the things that are pressing, like roads.
Mr. Mkunda, one of the things that have actually perturbed me is the fact that Parliament can budget for donations at a time when we have a shortfall with the budget. Parliament appropriates the national budget, but we have unfunded priorities that they see, like in the health sector, in education, but they can actually set aside some money for donations. What does that mean in terms of budgeting? We've had you here before, and there's a term you use that I don't want to repeat again on air, unless you say it yourself.
You see, Parliament, by the way.
The entire system of government.
The entire system. And that's why I think we come to the point of saying, where are our priorities? If we can decide to put the money for donations, then where are our priorities? And you would want to say, maybe you would reduce on donations and maybe fix the potholes that we have at here that we are having in the campaign.
Because I believe donation comes out of someone having an
by the way, Parliament doesn't have external financing. All the money from Parliament comes from the consolidated funding. So it means it's my money, you and me, that the money we pay into the consolidated fund. But there is something very important that you need to understand also, is that Parliament has so much power. And I was trying to understand the kind of budgeting that they do or where they derive their powers. And I when you look at the Administration of Parliament Act, Section 19, financial year estimate, it says that each financial year, the Commission shall prepare and submit to the President estimates of that year of expenses of departments of Parliament and any other expenses. Then the President shall cause the estimates to be laid before Parliament without revision. Only recommendations.
So they are just informing the President. This is how we intend to
that you can take it. You are informing the President. The President cannot make it. So it shows you the absolute power the Parliament has in managing and in managing the resources. And there's something when was said that which is very important, that whereas they vote that you will spend this money, they don't go further to look at the operations on how now the small monies are going to be allocated. And that goes back, let me tell you, to the accounting officer of Parliament, how accounts are done within Parliament. And if we don't strengthen that, that's where the problem is going to happen. And you are going to have two important things there.
One listener actually raises a very important issue and says, Kenya friend was denied 20 million shillings, which had been deposited on her account by the Financial Intelligence Authority because it was a lot of money, apparently. She has to bring all documents under the moon to prove the money. Now, billions are in people's accounts, and the Financial Intelligence Authority and the IGG are silent. What could be going on, Mr. Mkunda?
What is going on is what happened today. You see, when an allegation is made, and you don't come up to
that if person has a constitutional right to apply,
then that allegation is going to be taken as truth, whether it is wrong or right. So it was the Speaker's role today to surely clearly say that everything is okay.
Well, she said that. Okay. She said,
yes,
these are mere cooked up things.
I mean, for me, I would have loved to see a statement and say, the following allegations, how we have been making them, and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. In fact, I would have loved the Speaker to say, I'm setting up a commission of inquiry or a committee, please look into these allegations.
Parliament to investigate itself.
And because that's how it is. And it goes back to the first question we asked, in which way can we control the excessive appetite of Parliament or the powers of Parliament?
Honorable SEKIKUBO wanted to come in.
No, maybe to give some clarification. To say that, yes, according to the law he has cited, Parliament seemed to be self-accounting and drawing from the consolidated fund. But
and that is the poison.
But the practice, actually, the President, Parliament, through its commission, interacts with the President. And they can say, no, this item first wait, this one wait. For transport, you'll do this. There is that interaction. So the President has a bit clawed back on that legal provision. Then number 2, the clerk. The clerk is a learned lawyer. Yes, it's true, he knows the laws, but the procedure, how it has evolved, it is the Speaker to give. Say once a member is traveling, it has to go back to the Speaker.
There's a time when it used to go to the Prime Minister's office.
No. The Prime Minister, it's a different thing. Yes, for different thing for cabinet ministers, ministers of state.
Those are members of the executive.
Yes, that's where the Prime Minister. But for us as Parliament, the authorization, the clearance is by the
Speaker.
By the Speaker.
Yes. But you see, that's my point. That the Speaker would say, go for triple B authorizing. It is the job of the accounting officer to advise the Speaker and say, this MOP has traveled 4 times. He's traveling 4 times. He's going for 4 trips at the same time.
At the same time, same day.
Because the speaker doesn't have that information. It is the accounting officer who advises the speaker to say, please, you are giving this authority. However, these are the loopholes. So if you don't do that as an accounting officer, you are letting down the speaker.
Mr. Moses.
Yes, I'd like to come in on 2 things. One, the lasting point Julius raised, and I think it ignores the practical realities. First of all, trips by themselves have become tools to be used by speakers to control, tools of control, foreign trips. I was speaking to one of the MPs, is a NUP MP, and he was telling me that the reason why I support LOP is because the man has just recommended me to the speaker. I've just traveled back from France. So trips have become, even internal ones. You found that if you're in the bad books of the speaker, you will not travel. So the practical reality is that trips are controlled, and not even, it didn't start with this parliament. I think even Honorable Kadaga used to use these trips. Secondly, Julius is talking about the accounting officer. In these leakages, the accounting officer himself has been implicated for having gone for a trip at the same time in France, attending an International Bar Association conference, when is it supposed to be at the same time in Cape Town? He has not come out to explain that. And there's supposed to be the accounting officer. Thirdly, the practical other challenge is that right now we have a speaker, and this still didn't start with this parliament, who is almost larger than life, who controls, and it started with Honorable Kadaga. Remember when the Attorney General, the government got an injunction in court, when Honorable Kadaga, which she referred to as a stupid court order. And I remember also when the Honorable Jerry Karuhanga went to court over the COVID 20 million of booty, which was shared during COVID. And remember that
I don't know why you refer to it as a booty.
Booty is I'm referring it to money which is mysterious. And in that case, remember, they refunded it. The president ordered them, and the MPs refunded it. I remember the words.
And what happened thereafter?
I remember the words Honorable Kadaga used to describe Honorable Jerry Karuhanga.
What happened thereafter? Why don't you continue? And
you should complete.
And say when MPs were forced to return the 20 because the speaker had spearheaded it, the president ordered them to be given 40 million.
So my point is,
have we lost total control
from the last parliament to this one? We have the speakership, and like Honorable Theodore, I don't want to be. The speakership has come to mean controlling each and everything that is part of the house. That is why you have Honorable SEKIKUBO, Honorable Duru, Honorable Senyonyi as lone voices. Where are the other two today demanding? Because if someone comes and says that this class of people are all thieves, I would be concerned as a person in that class to say that no, I'm not a thief. Why is the silence? What's the general silence? Then the other issue is, where does that leave the accountability of Parliament? If you look at the institution of Parliament as a whole, this week I've been, I was bothering my brother, Honorable Mwanga Chivombi. How can you even start to go to Kosas and start backing at people when Parliament has all this image hovering over it? How do you even, where do you get the moral authority? You as Kosas and PAC to start demanding for receipts the way you've been backing. Honorable SEKIKUBO, you're in PAC backing at people. Where do you get the moral authority to come and for people in statutory bodies to come before that house? And you come threatening them to be escorted by CIDs when you're referring to these documents as cooked things. So it leaves the image and sanctity of Parliament intact.
Let's hear from your Honorable Mlo.
Yes, I think let's not go out of context and raise dust to the extent that it looks like the whole thing is hullabaloo, lost control. Is everything for themselves.
Somebody would describe this as a movie here one time.
Yeah, because
what we are saying, somebody takes an allowance to be in Taiwan, and the same day,
right? But the thing is,
Chigali.
I think let's call for accountability in every specific area. Instead of saying that because it has happened, there are 2 cases. Others will say because there are 10,000 cases before courts in Uganda, then hell has broken loose in the country. No. Each of those are subject to the judicial processes that they are subjected to. And in this case, if somebody has taken allowances for 2 activities which are concurrent and has attended one, then somebody should be brought to book to explain. Or else you actually refund the money, especially if you signed for it. And I remember during the 9th Parliament, some people asked to refund the money because they were in 2 meetings at the same time at 2 ends of the hemisphere. So they had to refund the money. So I think we just have to be alert and call upon those people to really account. And I'm saying the Speaker is not said to be above the law.
But can there be accountability when we have the Speaker actually saying this is something that is cooked up?
Exactly.
How do we get Parliament to be accountable?
This is how she's defending herself.
Because in some circles,
and I don't want to
because in some circles, what I heard amongst most of the members in Parliament, they said now this matter is closed.
Let me tell you, I neither defend the Speaker nor the likes of the Honourable Theodore. Honourable Theodore and group are making very serious allegations, even quoting numbers. This is a specific allegations which cannot be ignored. They should be investigated to the bottom. The Speaker is pleading ignorance.
Should the issues to be investigated or the Honourable Theodore? And
Issues,
okay.
Issues, not them. These are vehicles of the people. They are speaking what the people are saying out there. Maybe whether from within offices or the whistleblowers, whatever it is. So to me, before we conclude in the media and say that she is guilty, she's covering up and all this, to me, let's go after her in terms of processes and procedures. Let's come to the bottom of it. Maybe she's right, or maybe she's totally wrong. So I think at this moment we should heavily insist on the process. And to say that there was a mix-up whether who's responsible, according to my colleague here, it says that it must be the Clerk of Parliament. But the Clerk of Parliament also, there are functional relations between the Speaker and the Clerk. To what extent can the Clerk defy the Speaker? I mean, if
you must follow.
Yes,
public
but at the same time,
management
you must
rules and regulations.
You must act on instructions of your boss.
All right.
Especially they are wrong, you advise and say this is wrong.
All right. Spectrum Extra on Radio 1 FM.
We'll come back to this.
We are going to go to the break. When we return from that break, we'll read out some of the comments that are coming in from the listeners and sum up our discussion on this issue before we move on to another topic. So stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90, but keep your comments coming on via the WhatsApp line 0703090. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. Spectrum Extra continues after this break.
Spectrum Extra, Fridays 7 to 9 p.m. on Radio 1 FM 90.
Live on Radio 1 FM 90 as we review the major events of the week. And we've been having comments actually coming in from the listeners using the WhatsApp line 0703090. Let me read out some of the comments and also allow you panelists to actually jump in and respond to some of the issues. We have a comment coming in from Drakumani from Arua who says, good evening, Radio 1 and the panelists. Thanks for the program. Tell those panelists, especially the MPs, that this current parliament headed by AAA and the Honourable Thomas Tawera. Thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum Extra, live on Radio 1 FM 90, as we review the major events of the week. And we've been having comments actually coming in from the listeners using the WhatsApp line 0703090. Let me read out some of the comments and also allow you panelists to actually jump in and respond to some of the issues. We have a comment coming in from Drakumani from Arua who says, good evening, Radio 1 and the panelists. Thanks for the program. Tell those panelists, especially the MPs, that this current parliament headed by AAA and the Honourable Thomas Tawera own case versus Zake, where her allegations emanated from social media, leading to a debate in parliament, leading to the loss of office to Honourable Zake as a commissioner. Now that Honourable Zake is nominated back to replace Honourable Mpuga, let's watch the space. Well, somebody here actually saying that parliament has ever taken a decision basing on social media reports. How about this time around? Good evening, Spectrum Extra, and thank you for comrades in studio. Perhaps the only commander-in-chief perhaps only the commander-in-chief can take parliament, can talk to parliament. It's another arm of government that has ashamed Uganda and take away 200 million car allowance, perhaps salary of 20 million. The elephant is too big for Uganda now, for God and my country. That is a listener who is in Mpigi. Charles Odeke in Nairobi, thank you very much for listening in. What I have seen and followed someone to grow big and bigger, many people can't account. But I remember when it came to DNA scandal, when it was raised in the media houses and social media, Parliament responded fast. Now is Parliament in dilemma? You can't debate. Who is fooling who? We have Patrick Chirombe, who says, Spectrum Extra, For proper audit, the Deputy Speaker should be the one steering the House, not the Speaker herself. Then we have another comment. The appetite of Parliament in terms of how monies are spent is too elephant. Like the panel has put it, who is to clean the House of all these allegations? Then we have another comment. Speaker Among feels she has all MPs under her control and she's buying time for the corruption scandal to die down. That's a comment from Alan. Well, those are the comments that we are getting in from the listeners. Very quickly, I'll give you an opportunity to respond. I'll begin with you, Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO. Somebody here thinks that you're all under the control of the Speaker, whatever that means.
No. The Speaker, first of all, is one among equals, meaning that any member of Parliament, given the opportunity, would be the Speaker. But now we have one Speaker. We have the Deputy Speaker and her Deputy. But what is pertaining, I think it is where members also, are in that dilemma. The fear which is not practical. You can't come to Parliament and fear your Speaker, knowing that you would easily have been the Speaker if your circumstances were put differently. So I don't want to continue heaping it on the Speaker. Yes, she might try. She has members, even who jump up when there is nothing much to jump about. Even before listening, you hear members say, "But how can I shoot that one down?" Even before understanding and listening and contemplating on the issues the members raising, probably that. But also it is well known, members, they are not from heaven. They are members from the public. And therefore the issues, the afflictions of the ordinary Ugandans are equal. These members are not saying that they are immune. They are equally amenable. And once they take it upon themselves to obey blindly. That's why, as Mr. Mukunda pointed out, at the end of the day, once you leave that house, you face the world alone. You face your constituency alone. So it will do good.
Actually, Speaker Among has been lobbying for you people. Each time I see members from the people from the constituencies of MPs coming in the house, she actually says, "Return this man, return this woman. She's very good." Meaning,
but that's the courtesy they have to.
You are not alone in the constituency.
The Speaker, by the way, leave alone these issues that have arisen. The Speaker is very central. The Speaker is the head of the institution, the third arm of government, and that is the power, that is the authority she enjoys. Even if you say we all came to Parliament, we are members of Parliament, but once she has that added privilege, only that we are saying she should use those overwhelming powers judiciously. And once you have the orders to order the clerk, I'm surprised Mr. Mukunda here is reading. He's from the legal perspective. But the practice is a bit different, my friend. You know the circumstances, how the clerk can be there, how Jen Chibige left Parliament, now how Adolf Mwesig is now the clerk. So apart from your activism, come to Parliament, look at things, look at how they are unfolding, because you might end up putting a position here.
When you say that, you seem to suggest that whatever is happening in Parliament is outside the law, because Mr. Mukunda has been emphasizing the law.
No, he's right. He can only read the laws. He can only fall back to the laws. But all I'm saying,
so where does that
leave us?
Where does that leave us, Honorable
practices?
Where does that leave us, Honorable Sechikubo?
No,
if the institution that made the laws is the first one not to respect the laws?
Yes. But at the end of the day, Mr. Councilman C was telling you, yes, there are those overwhelming powers which can tempt someone to abuse them. By the way, the Speaker needs serious guidance on this. She can't be the law in herself. No, the rules of the land must prevail. This is what I'm saying. And we trust, we surrender our authority to the Speaker. She's the first among equals. She's the first. She's our face to the world. she is the one who interacts on behalf of Parliament. But then the issue is, don't abuse those powers.
All right.
Don't abuse those privileges. Hold them within your ambit, and Lord be able to do that and get away with it. For instance, where does now the issue of homosexuality come in? Where would it come? Where would it arise from? When we are having matters, serious matters, the sanctity, the privileged position of Parliament is being challenged. You can hear, you've been reading those texts coming in from WhatsApp. How do we push back to say that, well, that one happened, but I think we can prevail? The Parliament of Uganda must prevail. And that's what I'm saying. That's why we're very careful not to point at names. But we're saying the institution of Parliament. You can't say, because I'm not cited anywhere, therefore I'm okay. No. We are all indicted.
Honorable Simon, we are all done before we hear from.
I think you took the mic out from me because my colleague had mentioned about the roles of the Speaker and that of the Speaker, and I'm happy that the Honorable Theodore is now coming back to the line I was trying to tower. The fact is that it's not enough to just raise dust about the alleged squandering of resources at Parliament, but it's also more important to see to it that it is followed to the right accountability. In other words, nobody is above the law, and the Speaker, on her own, she thinks there is no problem, and so I think it is very important to invoke accountability measures, and mechanisms are within and outside Parliament, and that can be done very ably. And I know that what he said is that a speaker is more equal than others.
Ordinarily is one among equals.
One among equals. That's just being very humble. I know you just completed your law degree the other time, and you want to talk like these lawyers. But the issue is that really there are accountability mechanisms within and outside Parliament. If, for example, an investigative procedure is invoked within Parliament, and the matter is not is criminal, they can actually refer the matter to a criminal investigation body to carry it out. Yes, and definitely one can be subject to such very serious procedures. So I think we're not without those institutional measures. We have those mechanisms, whether it's the IGP, whether it is a parliamentary committee, whether it is the Auditor General, whether it is CID. We have all those. Even within the State House, we have those desks that the President has set up, which can actually do their work very seriously. And I'm sure if the President is interested in this matter, he will carry out, whether quiet or openly, investigations to find out the truth. Right. So in this case, let's not talk like it is beyond law, it is beyond that the Speaker is too much, is too big. I don't think so. So I think we should point out these weaknesses, we should point out these irregular issues, but have faith in our institutions that there are. Of course, people will tell me where are the reports of this and that. Those are questions for another day. But at least people should know that you cannot be above the law.
All right, Mr. Mukunda. Okay, yes, very quickly.
I think I've got my answer, and I think Honorable SEKIKUBO has just said, these things are no longer working.
Did he say that? If it was in Parliament,
no.
On a point of clarification.
He said, Mr. Mukunda, he said, I see you reading the law, but when you come to reality and the practice, these things actually change. An indication that for me that, people, we no longer follow the rules and regulations when they come to practice, when the rubber hits the road. That we
did he say that?
That we take
he
it back.
seemed to suggest that.
That's what I think.
That's why I asked him whether he was actually saying that Parliament
let's
is
not impute improper motive into an honourable member. What I remember is, just for information.
Wait, Honourable.
Which
I think he's here.
Because
let me just take it properly. My
Honourable Simon
Mulongo.
Yes. I put a question to Honourable Theodore SEKIKUBO. Yes. Whether the house that makes the laws is actually flouting the law, and he seemed to be.
Are you trying to block me from making my point of information?
I think it was my
just
time.
Providing you information,
but you can't inform me.
And guiding the debate.
Okay, fine. The point is that.
May I remind you that I'm the speaker?
Wait, right, Honourable Speaker. The point is, what the Honourable Theodore, and I believe what he said, was that there are those operational guidelines that emanate out of those laws. Because you don't just, there are many laws that have additional operating procedures that go with them.
No, we're not becoming
and in this case, in other words,
let us be very clear. Let us be very clear.
But can I deliver a point?
I have said.
I deliver a point?
I have said, and I said that I have been trying to look at how Parliament appropriates its resources, the process it goes through. And I quoted the law. And I quoted the Parliamentary Administration Act, and I said, what I found out here on Section 19, that when the Parliament has made its budget, that it will submit to the President. It will cause the estimates to be laid before the President, and the President shall cause the estimates to be laid before
Parliament,
Minister
of Finance, yes,
without revision, but with any recommendation that government may have on, and that's what I said. And he helped, and in my interpretation, I'm like, without revision means that the President actually cannot change these proposed budget proposals of the Parliamentary Commission, and from there, then I said Parliament has its absolute power on how it appropriates its resources without any interference
from the executive
or from anybody else.
All right. Let's hear from Mr. Musisi.
I think the point that Honorable Theodore was making, and which I entirely agree with him, is that yes, we have the law, but it would be foolhardy to ignore. I'm a rule of law enthusiast, but it would also be wrong to ignore the practical realities, challenges we face every day.
Exactly.
We've had problems, and that's why I don't agree with Honorable Mulongo, because I'm a perpetual optimist, but I don't want. We cannot look at the different examples that have happened in that house, where speakers have, and it's not even about the current leadership. Even in the past, they have acted as above the law, and the internal checks, the internal administrative checks, I don't think that there's any committee of that house that can bring the speaker or even the deputy to order today as it is now. Just recently, I can even mention some instances where the speaker has certainly gone overboard outside the law. At some point, she told the deputy general that as long as I'm speaker, you should not come back to lead any business in the house. Of course, she doesn't have those powers. She doesn't decide who.
So where does she get those audacity to say that?
Outside the law. That's what I'm saying. And that's why Honorable SEKIKUBO, I agree with him when he says that we need to look at the speaker is the number one guardian of the laws, of the rules, and even the Constitution.
All right.
She's the number one guardian. Lastly, I was just reminded here when the speaker described the social media things as rumors, that Honorable Zake was pushed out of that house because of a social media post.
And also somebody also reminded us
No.
the parliament having a discussion on issues of DNA.
Mr. Moderator, I don't think that point should go unchallenged.
No, you can challenge it. That is a fact.
It's a fact of the matter. It's a fact of the matter.
Are you reading before I say my point?
Does
it mean that you already...
I'm just putting it.
Then let me say my point.
All right.
I want to go by what they're saying, that Parliament is absolute. I'm saying it is
We're not saying that. We're not saying that. We're saying it's acting as if it is.
So to me, it is that Parliament is not absolute. Parliament has conducted decisions that have come to be challenged, and some of the decisions of that House overturned. There are institutions that act as checks to that House. You can't tell me the Parliament is the total absolute. I don't agree with you.
No one has said that. We're saying that.
Then withdraw that. Let him withdraw it. Let him withdraw it.
No, the actors behave.
And it's not because of the
powers. The people who are supposed to check have absconded their duties. You're talking about an accounting officer.
You're talking about internal. I said both internal and external. And definitely that House can come to be judged even outside of that House.
Well, one of the listeners actually said it's only the president, the commander-in-chief, who can call the House to order.
Not the president. Even judicial.
Well, when we have a situation when we have a situation where the gatekeeper, the clerk to Parliament, is actually among those named to have flouted the rules, of handling
Let
finances.
him be called,
What do you do?
Let me call upon to account for that. Maybe he has an explanation. Maybe somebody cheated on it. So really, before we assume that he's as guilty as charged, let's go into it and establish it.
All right. Well, Spectrum Extra, we have to bring to close that particular discussion and shift our gears. Just very quickly, Honorable.
Some small clarification. The issue of the pass has come up to show that, Parliament charges on the consolidated account, as Mr. Mukunda has read out. But the real practice, now I'm coming to the practice, is that the budget process is a protracted process. Consultations, meetings with the President, with the Prime Minister, under the Prime Minister. There are those consultations that go on such that by the time now Parliament presents its budget, it would have been harmonized upon. But when you read the law, it's as if Parliament, under the Speaker's chambers, they come up with a budget and forward it.
So why are you complaining if you're saying that this expenditure is within the budget that was discussed thoroughly and approved?
That's where you've taken it out of context. I wanted to clarify on the listeners who may feel that indeed Parliament can run away with the budget, but I'm saying it is consulted upon the votes. It is consulted upon what vote is Parliament, how much you need for committees, for development, for recurrent, etc.
So you have the money to spend.
Issue, excuse me. But now the issue, if you've been following those social media exhibition you are talking about, you would have known the abuse and where the abuse is taking place. Yes. We are not here to introduce what has happened. It is a wash. The profligacy in those exhibitions are clear, and it shows who has abused. And in my earlier submission, I went on to say that even if you hide under mischarge, there are particular degrees and percentages, minor percentages, so it wouldn't give you the leeway to abuse the way it is, the way it has been exposed. Yes. So my point is to say that the Parliament is on its own, and that's why even when Honorable Mulongo Simon was talking about how do we now call Parliament to order, if the executive was, as you insinuated, you could even set up a judicial commission of inquiry, because you say you can't be a judge in your own cause. You can't talk of the speaker to sit in the chair and allow. Even if you had to set up a select committee, it would be the speaker to appoint the select committee. You cannot talk about the deputy speaker, because also the deputy speaker has been adversely mentioned. So, if the executive was to be proactive, to say, now that you failed the measure, now it's agreeable now that we set,
like how
put in place
investigates the executive.
Would say now let there be a judicial commission of inquiry where all these matters are presented and etc. Lastly, a few weeks ago, the speaker from the chair read out the names and told members to report to the CID over a certain report about cooperative. And the speaker said, you report to CID. So to me, once we reach that stage, and we are hiding.
You want to tell her to report to CID?
No. Those are your words.
Those ones are based on concluded investigation.
Actually, I know there is a CID at Parliament. There's a gentleman there who used to speak for CID. We now head the CID desk in Parliament.
We haven't reached
CID is near you.
No, but Ken, at this point in time, we are saying, look.
You remind me of those situations in the Public Accounts Committee where people are instructed, go to the CID. Go to the CID and make a statement.
Not say go to the CID. We have CID sitting in attendance,
committee,
and we say CID take him.
Take him now. At one point, you are even described as a torture chamber.
At this point, MPs, Honorable SEKIKUBO,
the witness out of
his 500 plus colleagues should be led to
Chibuli.
Well, not all the 500. We know them. Those who stood out today to speak.
I could have spoken, but when I'm not clean myself.
But I think, but before you run away, members of Parliament have the right to pronounce themselves on any matter of national interest, and that is their house. They're officers of Parliament. So surely, if they raise the matter in a manner they did, they have every liberty to do that.
All right.
Yeah, and to that, Honorable Simon, Parliament is to talk.
Pale.
Allow the talking. Let the views come out.
I can feel your pain over here.
No, that's why I can't take it. Let people speak. Because we are all in this together. I'm not coming out to say that now for me I'm killing, therefore I have the moral high ground to dictate to you. No. We are all in this. But can sanity reign in back in Parliament? Can someone call us to order if we can't call ourselves to order? And that's very dangerous. If you and there is a Hansard where the speaker had promised she was in the chair. First lay these,
and then we'll discuss this issue in the
then I'm
commission.
Giving you ample time and all the time you need to discuss the exhibition. Was done. She adjourned the house.
There's a saying in Luganda which says that that when a case, when an issue,
you said in Luganda first.
When an issue, when you stay over a matter, it gives you Ogusula gukuwempoza. I just wanted to avoid
that. Is standing out, and we have other options. We may choose to give a notice, a formal notice, to serve the speaker. Notice that this is a matter of great public importance, that it needs to be put on the order paper. We expect you to convene Parliament at its earliest sitting, and we serve the speaker, the clerk, and we wait for the debate. But we can even recall, if the anger rises, we can choose to petition and we seek signatures.
All right.
Of course, Honorable Sechikubo has fallen into the trap of what he was blamed Julius for, quoting the law. When you talk about that petition, you don't find colleagues to make the minimum numbers. That is the practical reality as well.
And that is the maneuver.
I've gone through it.
Ogusula gukuwa empoza. Let's move on.
I think it is on both sides. No Moabi.
You will not find many MPs appending their names on it.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on. We are into a political season, and we are seeing a number of activities happening in political parties. The NRM, of course, is registering its supporters, but there's a dynamic within that political party, and it's the issue of the Patriotic League of Ugandans that most people are wondering what is going on. Even some NRM people are baffled. Today the leader of this organization, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, was in Masaka and actually said people should elect leaders who are not corrupt. But he also said when 2026 comes, people should elect leaders who are ready to work with President Yoweri Museveni. We are also seeing dynamics in different political parties, including the opposition. We know what has befallen the NUP, and we thought that this issue was about to be resolved, and the party has now decided through its neck to actually throw out the Honorable Matthias Mpuuga from the Parliamentary Commission and replace him with the Honorable Zake. I have seen an explanation coming in from Parliament that NUP actually has no powers to remove Mpuuga from the Parliamentary Commission. I'll begin with you, Musisi. Political dynamics within different political parties and what it means, and we'll be interested to hear what is happening in your party, NUP.
Well, political contestations are normal in a family. Of course, what makes it hard in Uganda is that our multi-party institutional democracy has not yet fully reached the point where we still have a lot of individualism, where people think that we should come to a party, but the rules are not subject. I'm not subject to the rules because of one reason or the other, and sometimes rightly so or otherwise. Yes, you said we begin with NUP. The decision taken by the NUP, I'm quite certain that by the time the decision was taken, the NUP NEC members were alive to the requirements of that legal provision. I think
who are the NEC members, by the way? That issue has also been making rounds. That issue has also been making rounds on social media.
I had a gentleman, one of the members of Parliament, making allegations that I have the list here.
Be clear, that was Dr. Abed Wanika.
Yes, but you know, Honorable Sechikubo guided that we shouldn't mention names. Let me continue my submission. I'm trying to trace the list.
The list of you can tell us how your NEC is composed, maybe.
The NEC is composed. The constitution is of the current constitution, because the amended one has not yet come into place. Makes some office bearers, by virtue of their offices, members of NEC, and some of the, like for instance, all the vice presidents are members of NEC.
The Secretary General.
let me mention, of course, the deputy presidents are members of NEC. The Secretary General is a member of NEC, and the Deputy Secretary for Information and Spokesperson, Secretary for Women Affairs, Secretary for National Mobilization, the Administrative Secretary, the National Treasurer, the Deputy Secretary, the Secretary for Research, the Secretary for Policy, Secretary for Legal Affairs, the Deputy Secretary for Training, and all those are filled. The Deputy Secretary for Women, Deputy Secretary for, and the Vice, they are regional president.
So we should say the National Executive.
The National Executive, the Secretary for Youth and the Deputy, the Secretary for Institutions and the Deputy, Secretary for Persons with Disability and Deputy.
There's so many. How many are there?
There are 35.
35 members of NEC. So they sat.
And I should mention that there is an amended constitution which was approved by the party, forwarded to the EC, and it's, of course,
under consideration.
Yeah, under consideration.
Okay.
Which is seeking to expand where they have expanded.
It's not yet effective.
It's not yet effective. So they are alive to the realities of the legal provision. But this is just a message. They think that for us, as people who sent you there, we no longer represent us. If you look at the composition of the Parliamentary Commission, it's meant to be representative, and each person there is there deliberately. The lead of government business is there deliberately. The Minister of Finance is there for a reason. And of course, this every time there are sometimes lacunas in the law, and because the situation has never arisen, just like you saw the death of the Speaker, that's when you mentioned that, maybe this is reason. So this law, I've had an argument that when you become a commissioner, you become a commissioner for Parliament, which is true. But
you can only be removed by a substantive motion,
and
supported by at least 2/3.
Yes, and I'm sure the law didn't envisage this scenario, because if the law intended commissioners to be fully only by Parliament, there would be no reason for having opposition to be represented.
Mr. Misusing, hold your thoughts there. When we return, I'll allow you to build on that point, and then the other members will also jump in and share their views on this particular issue as we continue looking at the dynamics taking place in the different political parties ahead of the 2026 general elections. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90 will continue after this break.
Spectrum Extra, Fridays 7 to 9 p.m. on Radio 1 FM 90.
So that is so NUP was alive to that requirement.
So as one of the lawyers of NUP, you know the law that in fact it will be a tall order. You will not be able to remove Mpuga from the Parliamentary Commission. So what do you want to achieve?
Well, will not be able is your word. It's not mine.
That's what the law seems to, because
legal process.
Whoever moves the motion in the House will need 2/3 to support that motion in order to overturn the confirmation of the House, which is a tall order.
What I'm looking at, the decision of NEC is saying that we as people who recommended you there, you no longer represent our interests. Simple as that. And of course, we live in a world where resigning is such a tall thing that we think it's... if the people who sent you there no longer say that you don't represent us, then who do you represent?
All right.
So that's the question.
Would therefore members of the public who think that you have some sort of vendetta against Mpuga be right? Because if you know very well you can't have him removed from the commission,
what you call vendetta,
fueling more conflict.
What you call vendetta it would mean that there's a personal issue. But as far as I'm concerned, all the issues have been public. In fact, what has been blamed for NUP has been saying that, why don't you handle these things quietly? But it was a public matter which arose, if you remember right, from the same leakages we've been talking about. The matter came from social media.
All right.
And so, just 1 second, let me clarify.
Very quickly.
So when it came to the floor, and of course everything else has been public. So this was handling a public matter in a public way.
All right. Even before I move on to Honorable Simon Mlongo, you can also comment about what is happening in the NRM.
What is happening in the NRM, the kicking off of their registration, that is what everything should do. Of course, when we see an offshoot of NRM, what you call PLU, as a lawyer, first of all, I appreciate that every person has a right to associate in whatever manner they feel. What I think is wrong about them is the person, even the General Mohozi, is breaking the law. If you look at the Political Parties and Organizations Act, which forbids serving statutory officers, even the Constitution, from participating in partisan politics,
he says his organization. He says his organization is not partisan.
What is described as an organization fits everything that PLU is. And then when they are launching, they said they are standing boldly on the fight against corruption. When these leakages came up, I thought that was an opportunity for PLU to show us its bold stand.
He has spoken today and said people should elect leaders who are not corrupt. And he was speaking from Masaka.
So I would have ideally no problem with any person who associates with PLU to do as such. But let it be in accordance with the law. And that's what we've always been blaming NRM is. That if you're in multi-party politics, you do the multi-party, do your registration, let all other actors enjoy the same benefits without you enjoying unduly.
Honorable Simon Mulongo.
Yes, I go back to the Parliamentary Commission. From the definition, which is very selective by our Landy colleague, is to mean that the Parliamentary Commissioners are delegates who go there to attend meetings.
I didn't say that.
I said the effect of your description.
That's your interpretation of my description.
Okay, my interpretation is that you are trying to say that the parliamentary commissioners are actually delegates who go there to attend meetings on instructions from time to time of their principals.
That's a wide
So that, to me, that reduces that commission to something else. As far as I know, is that parliamentary commission have a process through which they go. Even if you're being nominated by your own principals, there's a process through which you go to become a commissioner. And so you cannot just sit somewhere with a resolution, then hand it as if that is the very way you can remove a parliamentary commissioner. If we have institutions of that nature, where there is no security of tenure of office, then it is nothing. So to me, I think those commissioners have some degree of security of tenure. And the Honorable Mpuga should be enjoying that security of tenure. Despite the fact that you people have your own issues, which you are now to pass over to him, and he becomes a victim. So
your love for him is
no. I don't have a love
admirable.
for him. It's okay. I mean, not as an individual. I'm talking about as an institution and as a process. So I think we should be able to protect ourselves, whether it is a Judicial Service Commission, whether it is an electoral commission. There must be some degree of security of tenure of office. So I'm afraid whether he's removed, I will not go without breakfast. But the issue is that there must be some.
Actually, if you talk about security of tenure, Honorable Simon,
so
even the president can be removed. So there is no, the constitution didn't envisage someone
exactly.
who is
exactly. So, but what is the procedure?
All right.
The way you're acting is that the powers rest with you. Now, finally, on the NRM registration exercise, I come from Namisindwa district. I'm not from the center like the Honorable Theodore, who has no idea about neighboring countries, because when he looks on the west, there is a Uganda, South Uganda, North Uganda. Me on the east is actually Kenya. And our people are registering well. The exercise kicked off very well. The outcome, the response from the public for the members of the party is overwhelming. And I see the exercise really going well. By the end of it on Sunday, I just hope, because the number is so big that I'm not sure whether they're able to accommodate them in the 4 or 5 days that were earmarked for them.
Is this genuine love for the DNRM? From what you're saying, you said the numbers are so big.
It is not me. I'm just telling you what the people are. If the people are overwhelmingly in love, then that's the information you should get. But I'm just reporting the fact that the NRM party is registering high scores of turn-up in Namisindwa and particularly Bula East. So,
as a person who is interested in the 2026 elections, parliamentary seat in Bobolo East, how important is this process?
This, of course, this is our constitutional process as a party, where we have the register that is reviewed, updated, for purposes of ensuring that those who elect in the primaries will do exercise their right for the primaries. You ask me what it is, what it means.
What does it cure then?
That's very decisive, because then, one, it is to reassert our base as a party. And then secondly, we exercise our right to vote for the person who will bear the flag of the party in area.
All right. Let's go to Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO from Lwemiaga. When we talk about NRM primaries, so many things to remember about the Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO. And his situation arose from the issues to do with the register.
Those are social media
You know, you are here not only for institutional memory as one of the longest-serving MPs in the parliament, but your seniority in the NRM and its primaries. You know, we remember that situation where you kicked the utensils in air and threw them away, say you could not accept what was going on.
And you did not wrestle a policeman.
And you did wrestle a policeman. So are you happy that at least you are going electronic this time around when it comes to the issues of the register?
But Ken, I thought you were raising objective issues.
Well,
I didn't imagine
I just wanted to confirm that I
will boil down to subjective experiences. And but for this one, I think it's important for any party to embark on this very important exercise where parties act as vehicles for interest articulation and interest aggregation. And I think now the mischief that is being cured here now was the paradox whereby in the NRM registers it had 12 million members, but when it came to the vote in the ballot box, it was only 6 million votes.
At the general elections?
General elections.
For the president.
Why? Why are you more than... actually, it was much less than that. Why are you big in the books, in the register, but translates what translates into the votes is very, very minimal. And this is the challenge that is being addressed. Because now we want to go electronic. We want to tie the membership to the National Voters ID, etc. But suffice it to point out that, again, because of the inertia within the party, because of the shortcomings, yet again, we might miss the point in a sense that we are conducting registration when the voters, the youth who are at school, who are at universities and colleges and upper higher secondary education, they are not at home. And yet this requires physical presence for you to register. Where would it leave now the entire exercise? Because at the end of the day, at the time of voting, these very people will be at home and they'll need to participate. And that's the thing. Now, this morning, as I was coming to Parliament, I had the personal assistant to the chairman of the party, Hajat Namiaro, crying foul that when she went to check, her name was missing on the register. If the person in the name of the personal assistant, His Excellency the President and Chairman of the party, is missing on the register, then who is on the register now? That shows you that there is a problem.
Office of the national chairman.
Yes,
the head
the coordinator,
of the office, coordinator.
The office, the personal assistant. Her name was missing on the NRM register. So that shows you that we were not intended to start on a tabula rasa. No, there has been some register, and we are just updating that very register. But you find that the timing is playing us havoc. Now, the interests and individuals who interfere with this exercise, who obliterate names from the register, who issue resources to start the exercise at an awkward time, there is a mismatch. And therefore, before congratulating Honorable Simon Mlongo for encouraging his voters to come in droves to register themselves, he should realize that whereas he's succeeding in Bubulo, what is happening elsewhere in Uganda for his party might leave a big question to be answered. And lastly...
And what is that happening?
What is happening is what exactly I'm telling you.
Some people are missing on the register.
Some people are missing on the... Very important person, very important members.
And they can be updated.
And a big section of the youth, you know, our register, we register those of 16
years
and above. The senior 4, even senior 3, they are not present, they are not there, and I'm sure even news must be to their schools. What provisions? I think Dr. Tangodoy will have to move in to
have some contingent measures.
Continuous registration.
Contingent measures in place to accommodate these
The learners.
The learners. And lastly, I think when you see the PLU today, I think those who have ears should hear. Because there has been confusion. Tova Kumeini, standby generator, 2026, where the standby generator is getting nominated. The Tova Kumeini won't be on the vote on the ballot paper, on the ballot. I think now with that one, by the statement of General Muhoozi, I think that clarifies the position that even himself, he's mutating in a way. Now he ends up saying that, you excellent people for you to vote the president, to vote the NRM, etc. But what is perturbing me as a person is that constitutional provision, that Article 208, Honorable Simon. If the president so wishes, he's the chairman of the party. He has treated serving officers differently in the past. In these very studios, when Brigadier General Tumukunde made just political statements, you know where he ended. In a hiatus of 7 years at home under the so-called house arrest. When General Sejusa also made those comments, when even others, even Dr. Besigye, it started from writing a politically charged paper that the movement is derailed, and that was it. The rest is history. So what I'm trying to point out is that why doesn't the General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, he's a foster general, he's a full general. Any soldier, any militant aspires, the aspiration as they join the army is to rise to the highest rank. He has attained that. He has done that. And we are proud of him. But I was in that parliament with Honorable Mulongo here, where we shredded that UPDF bill until we got to this act. We were actively involved, and it was very, very clear on who serves, a soldier, a militant, and the provisions that are in tandem with the constitutional provisions.
General Edward Katumba Wamala is a serving military officer. The late Ronda Nyakarima was a serving military officer. We even have other people who have been deployed elsewhere, and they are serving military officers.
Yeah, but they are serving political officers, not necessarily.
And they are making political
because
statements.
This one, what you are forgetting to tell the public is that he is a special presidential advisor in charge of, actually an advisor in charge of special military operations. So it is a bit different, it is distinct. And number two, you are not seeing General Katumba Wamala mounting a rostrum, a political rostrum as it is being done there.
Is it not a wealth creation?
No, this is a bit different. You read the statements he was making. So to me,
he has only told you to not to vote for corrupt leaders, and he says you should vote for leaders that will not antagonize Mr. Museveni.
I think you are being provocative.
I think so.
You are being provocative.
And you should have quoted General.
Just guiding.
You should have quoted General Tumukunde.
Can't you heed his moralist advice?
General Tumukunde was court-martialed for when he's a member of parliament. You can add he was a member of parliament for a radio interview.
For the record, General Muhoozi said that the biggest problem Uganda has now is corruption.
Now, let me tell you that.
Can that take him to court-martial?
And it is in support of Honorable Theodore's stance in parliament.
Look at the broad spectrum. The activities preceding, during, and after his visit to Masaka. It wasn't a tea party. It is not a tea party.
All right.
Look at it from that perspective. So what I'm saying, the point I'm saying, we are not begrudging him.
All right.
But as a serving officer, and even he himself, so the question I'm raising, if he can take total disregard of the Constitution and the laws governing his institution and profession, the APDF, why is he still aspiring to be there, to be the president? What will you expect of him after arriving there?
All right. Let's hear from Mr. Mukunda. Mr. Mukunda, do you as people in civil society follow these political happenings, especially you people with preoccupation is actually the national budget? Are you interested in the dynamics that are taking place in these political parties? Do they have any implications?
Oh, yeah. I mean, last time we talked about it. whether you are PLU, whether you are NUP, NRM, what I'm interested in is what is your economic policy for this country? This country has got a number of economic challenges, and I'm yet to hear really these things. One is this country is highly indebted. If you are coming to power, how do you intend to ensure that we reduce on the debt burden? Corruption, we've talked about it for almost 1.5 hours here. As a party, what strategies are you putting in place to ensure that actually those who are corrupt are taken to court, and there is a streamlined process which we have been struggling to explain here to the public? This country, I mean, we have a serious value for money. How do you ensure that the little we have can bring bigger returns to this country? The challenges of, I mean, up to now we don't have a governor in this country. I want to know that if there are any processes as a party that you are coming to say, these are the procedures and the policies that we're going to put in place to ensure that when these high-ranking officers that are heading government institutions, this is how they will be appointed, and this is the time frame that you give. Like the speaker, if the speaker today, I mean, something happens, you know how immediately you have to replace the speaker. So these are some of the things I want you the economic agenda that is in place to say, look, if I come, this is what I'm going to put, so that the economic hardships we Ugandans are facing can be reduced. Look at the issue of school fees, for example. Look at the issues of the healthcare system. Look at the issues of, the potholes in this country. Is it because we don't have the money, or is it because we are setting wrong priorities? And I think for me, that's what I want to hear from our political pundits that who are saying, "Oh, we want to take power." Other things, the way they're there, but for me, the economic agenda is critical and very important. But I think Honorable SEKIKUBO has mentioned something which is very important, that we have these rules and regulations, and we expect that any person aspiring to take the top leadership of this country, to guide this nation, that you are saying, "Oh, I'm also adhering to these particular laws." And I think it is very, very important that at the end of the day, people can be able to measure your performance and say, "Oh, this is the person we should bring on board," because even from the beginning, he was adhering to the rules and regulations of this country. And I think that adds a value to any person who is doing it. Because the president also resigned from the army when he was going to join when he was going to join politics. And I think for me that's yes. So it would be easier to do that, unless there is something else that we as ordinary citizens don't understand that probably is cooking. But the importance of the matter, Kenneth, for me is the political agenda of these political parties. They need to bring them out, and we begin to scrutinize and debate them.
All right. Very quickly, gentlemen, we are coming to the end of the show, and so I'll give you an opportunity to make your closing remarks. I'll begin with you, Honorable Mulongo.
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, I'm an institutionalist, and I want to act within the legal and institutional frameworks that we put in place and as revised from time to time. I think if we don't respect that, then we're likely to have very serious challenges, whether in terms of accountability or in terms of our aspirations. So whatever the Honorable Theodore is saying is correct to the extent that we must be law-abiding. So then lastly, I know that we are called to account for our actions. So everybody's actions in this country should be called to account.
Oh, yeah. All right.
At one stage or the other.
Very quickly, Honorable Theodore SEKIKUBO.
Very quickly, yes. Maybe I'll come at some other point to comment about, because you've allowed.
Please do comment now. Do comment now. Very quickly
about NRM, but what?
Well, you can comment about NUP.
Actually said. I think in our rules, Honorable Simon and the panel is here, there is a lacuna. Because, say, when it comes to, is it Rule 210, when it comes to the removal and replacement of a chairperson of a committee, even powerful committees, Public Accounts Committee, ETC, or any other, it is by redesignation
of the whips.
By the whips, yes. Where you are designated to serve or to exit. Yes, because that's how it is. And yet once it comes to the commissioners, and it's a hybrid, because they are not commissioners. First of all, they are commissioners of parliament.
You can't say, because I'm a commissioner there, I'm a commissioner noob. No. Let it adhere to the rules of... Then at the same time, it is your party that has sponsored you, has designated you there.
There's a contradiction there.
And this is why I'm saying that probably the framers, now that Honorable Abdul Katuntu is working on the rules, probably they should have time to look at that, because it's a contradiction. The only thing, and I must say, I must declare my personal interest. Honorable Mpuga is a friend of mine, and I have high respect for him. Only that this time, he's in a difficult situation, in a sense that the rules of Parliament of Uganda are protecting him. Now his sponsoring party is saying, get out. And for him, he's saying, no, I'm staying. Now the question will arise, on his behalf, is he staying there? Is he there as part of this opposition group? If other people say, what difference will it be for him?
He's still a member of NUP.
Between him and Mao? Because Mao of DP is there,
he's still a member of
being
NUP.
guarded and protected by the ruling government. And also now, who is now the benefactor and protector of Honorable Mpuga? It is a difficult question, and if you knew, you members of the opposition, probably you wouldn't have made us to try to even comment on this. He's a friend, he's this, but you are putting us in a very difficult position, and really one doesn't know how to go out of it.
All right.
The rules are protecting him, but morally on his behalf, on whose strength, whose strength is he sustaining his commission?
Are they losing confidence in him as a member, or simply as what? Because he's still a member of NUP.
This is where I said
and a member of Parliament.
The one who designated...
Right, very quickly, Mr. Osisi, you have 1 minute.
Many times we're not used to handling difficult positions.
Very quickly.
So what Honorable Mulongo's party usually does is to say that let's strip this and that. Honorable Mulongo says let the law apply to all.
All right.
And I think that's what these people are doing.
All
because
right.
I would want
But
any
which one are they
argument.
following?
I'm afraid time
is
is not our best ally.
what you are saying.
We have to bring this
wrong.
discussion to an
No
end.
one is talking about
It
the
is you who is
accusations
wrong.
leveled.
Thank you very much, dear panelists, for making time to be with us today on Spectrum Extra. Thank you very much, dear listeners, for contributing to this show. I've been your host, Kenneth Lukwago Anderson, and stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. We'll continue with our quality programming. But from me and the entire team, the panelists, we wish you a very good weekend.